Well, hey guys, I am now back home after doing the writing trip about the Overcoming Shame book. And I didn't get as much done as I wanted to, but I'm real excited about what I did get it done. I have sent a request out to a number of guys asking for testimonies of shame. Overcoming shame, shame that is overcome, and shame that's current. And I'm asking for testimonies. I really want to show the reality and the depth of shame and what it looks like. I want to paint a picture of shame and give people the ability to see shame in others, because I have found that often when we see the shames in others' lives, it normalizes our own and we realize that it may not be true. So that to me is an amazing thing. I was involved in a group setting where we went and did an affirmation circle. And in the affirmation circle, each man stood up and was talking about their own personal likes and dislikes about themselves. They were talking about their own shame. They were talking about things that shamed them about themselves, about their making, about their person, about their character, about their life situation, about all kinds of shame. And then they had men stand up before them, and they had those men speak their own truth about that man. And it was one of the most touching, amazing encounters I've ever had. There was a bunch of tears, and the residual of it was pretty amazing. The residual of this was that these guys literally were able to say, this man thinks this about himself. That is so not true. And here's the real truth that I see. Here's the data that I have. And it really blew the guys away. They were like able to say, I never would have thought that you would have thought that. So in this book, I'm wanting to pepper it all with shame stories, testimonies of shame, overcoming shame, overcome shame, and shame that's current. And I'm writing stories about shame from my own life, and I'm enjoying just diving in. I'm being very raw, very real, very honest with it, but I'm enjoying the process of bringing it out. There is an amazing healing nature to bring shame into the light and to bring our shames before others to bring healing and wholeness. Obviously, you have to do it in a scenario, in a situation that is safe and that you're being honored and attuned to, and that the people are for you. I wouldn't want to do it just with any group. I would want to do it with a trusted group, a group of men or women, whatever, that I trusted to bring that shame out with. So one of the shames I'm talking about is the shame of our weakness. And I have written on the blog several times about the fact that as a child, I was unwilling to sing the song, Jesus Loves Me, in its entirety. How I would sing it is, Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so. Little ones to him belong, but he is strong. Yes, Jesus loved me. Yes, Jesus loves me. Yes, Jesus loved me, the Bible tells me so. I would not sing, they are weak. I would not do it. I absolutely refused because I didn't want to be weak. Weakness makes us dependent. But here's the amazing thing about weakness. Weakness also gives us access to his strength. It's the only thing that gives us access to his strength. We see that in Paul's life, where Paul said he boasted in his weakness. And while our shame as men, as women, can be around our weakness, men especially, their inability, their lack of prowess, their lack of character, all these things are shaming things and they're weaknesses. But when I enter into my weakness, when I enter into the shame, and I sit with that weakness and I sit with that shame in his strength, I literally lean into him for his strength on the situation, I am brought into victory, wholeness, and healing. In the NLT version of it, it says, each time he said, my grace is sufficient for y'all. Look at my southernness. So here's what Paul said. Each time he said, my grace is all you need. My power works best in weakness. So now I am glad to boast about my weakness, so that the power of Christ can work through me. That's why I can take pleasure in my weakness and the insults and hardship and persecution and troubles that I suffer for Christ. When I am weak, then I am strong. And I know where that strength comes from. I know that that strength comes from the life of Christ. I know that that strength comes from, and as referenced in my book, The Great Exchange, it comes from an exchange of lives. It comes from an exchange of weakness for strength. My life, weakness, his life, strength. And I experience victory. I experience lack of shame. I enter into the reality of who he is. And it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful. I go into union with him and I come out vulnerable and unashamed. I don't have shame when I enter into his strength and allow him to be strong in me. So I'm really celebrating this book. I would still very much love your prayers about this, because I'm looking to continue to work through this and work it through and develop the stories and bring it out. I want it to be powerful. I want it to be a man's manual on how to overcome shame is really what I want it to be. But I'm going to bring and pepper it with all these testimonies. And I also want to invite anyone. I've asked several people individually, but I would love shame stories. I would love testimonies of shame and shames that have been overcome, shames that are being overcome, and shames that are still current. And I'd love to receive stories about that and be able to include it into the book. There's, I'm going through a number of different shames, shames in weakness, shames in life circumstances, body shame, character shame, all kinds of shame I'm going into. And I want to give examples of that. And I'd like to give more than one example. I'd like to give a couple examples. I'd like to literally pepper this with stories so that it's not just teaching. It's not just revelation. It's testimony. It's living epistles, overcoming shame, and in the process of overcoming shame, or shames that will be overcome. So I invite anyone, if you want to reach out to me and say, hey, I have a shame story I'd like to share, I would love it. I would absolutely love it. So I bless y'all. I love you and I appreciate you. Thanks for listening. Thanks for following. Thanks for your prayers. I really, really need them as I bring this out. It has been a lot to really come at this and face it in reality and in truth. I mean, I've been very, very honest with some personal shames that I have. I've brought in some stories about shames that I experienced in others, and then I have several testimonies of men that have reached out and said, please, can you share this? I want to expose this and allow this shame and this shame story to bring victory and crush shame in other men's lives. So I hope to hear from y'all. Let me know if anybody wants to do that, and I will be talking to you real soon.